let's get into the top 10 as I see it here in college football. This top 10 continues to evolve. And I will just tell you, I've gotten a lot of comments down below in the show. And I do get in there, by the way, almost every Monday. And I go in there and try to answer your comments. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the show, jump down in the comments. And then I try to get down there, answer questions, things like that. Like last week, some guy was like, this guy always asks us to comment and that he's down here answering questions. And he never does. And I was like, hey, man, what's going on? Anyways, I do get down there and I do personally answer some of those questions. Here's the top 10. And some have asked, well, what do you base this on? Just who you think is better? Is it resume? Is it both? And it's always some combination of both. It's always some combination of both. Is that the right way to do it? I don't know. I don't think it's a perfect way, but this is how I see it right now. Some of these teams have earned their rankings. Some of them just are here because, like, I know they're that good. And that's the way I'm going to go. Here we go, 10-1, top 10 in college football. At number 10, BYU. BYU just keeps on winning, and the last 2 weeks, very impressively. At home against Utah, a team that we all thought a lot of. And by the way, Utah in the last 3 weeks has hammered Arizona State, lost at BYU, and then drilled Colorado. I mean, drilled Colorado. At one point around halftime, the total yardage was like 400 to -2 in that game. It was ugly as a former buff, or a buff, I should say. I'm not a former buff, I'm a buff. So BYU just keeps winning. I'm saying that about Utah because it's like the BYU win against Utah was impressive. And then they went on the road, speaking of the Cougars, and they beat Iowa State. And they did so in pretty impressive fashion. And so those are two massive wins of two quality opponents, top-end Big 12 opponents. Now we start having to think about, like, hey, is BYU the best team in the Big 12? Can Texas Tech beat BYU? And that's a game that I'm certainly really looking forward to seeing here upcoming in the next few weeks. BYU is excellent. Bear Bachmeier is terrific. I love his maturity as a true freshman quarterback. And Kalani Sitake, by the way, he's a guy that should get talked about more with some of these job openings because this dude is just a really good football coach. Now, I talked about fit. He's a great fit at BYU, obviously. And so that's one of the reasons why he has such a tremendous amount of success. They're mature. They're always older. They're physical. They can run the football. They play really good defense. It's a great fan base. Love BYU. They're in my top 10. At number 9, I'm going Miami at 9. I thought it was a sloppy first half against Stanford before they kind of buried them in the second half. And what worries me is those 6 quarters, the 4 quarters against Louisville and the Friday night loss, and then the opening 2 quarters against Stanford. It's like, okay, I'm starting to see the peaks and valleys of Miami. Don't love the valleys. I really don't. You know, it's one of those things like you play golf with a buddy or even in your own golf game, and you have that one shot that you're like, oh, gross. For me, it's just a block high, cut, fade, bubble, nasty, gross. And it's like, that's in the bag. Well, for Miami, they've got these 6 quarters now that are like the bubble, block, fade, cut, gross. And I don't like it. Having said that, at the top end, Miami does at times control the line of scrimmage. They play really quality defense. I like their quarterback when he's not turning the football over. So peaks and valleys with Miami, but pulling away from Stanford in the second half I thought was really nice. Number 8 is Ole Miss. Ole Miss with a big win on the road at Oklahoma. And it was a gutty win because the game was playing out very similarly to their previous week when they were on the road against, oh God, now I'm blanking it. It was Georgia. Had to be Georgia. Yeah, Georgia, because Georgia has 18 lives and doesn't die. But they're scoring, you know, they're going back and forth. But in crunch time, they couldn't get it done offensively. And then they fixed that this week. And against a very good defense in Oklahoma, they played well down the stretch defensively. Lane has a really good team at Ole Miss. Now, are there some deficiencies? Yes. I think their defense is going to run up at some point against an offense that is going to be too much for them. Heck, they did that just last week against Georgia. However, you look at the remaining parts of their schedule, and this is a team that, like, that's a likely SEC championship game team. Their schedule is pretty easy moving forward. And so, you know, in the SEC, there's some teams that hit the schedule roulette. Some of them that hit the schedule lottery. This is a lottery. They've got South Carolina on November 1st, the Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State. Like, that's not difficult, folks. And so Ole Miss might very likely end up in Atlanta in the SEC championship game. We'll see if they can get there. Now, they're going to need some help. There's a lot of teams in there with just a loss, but they have a road that is more manageable than others. Speaking of Ole Miss, and I can't move on from Ole Miss without touching on Lane Kiffin. One, Lane's going to get offered from Florida. He's going to get offered from LSU. He's obviously going to get a huge offer at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin is going to be a top 2 or 3 paid coach in college football next year, and it's probably going to be at either one of those 3 schools, LSU, Ole Miss, or Florida, and he's a hot commodity. Now, with that comes a bit of risk, and I know that those schools know that. He's obviously a little bit of a spark plug on social media. I tangled with him last year. I didn't even tangle with him. I stuffed him in a locker last year. Let's be honest. I mean, it was low-hanging fruit. I took it. Am I proud of it? Yes. And so Lane, at the end of the game against OU, has a flare-up with an OU player. And David Stone, the defensive tackle, who I guess had been chirping him, Lane's about to do the interview with Molly McGrath. And then all of a sudden, he's like, "Oh, you're a lot quieter now, aren't you?" And they start chirping. It looks like David Stone is just trying to dap him up. And then Lane is asked about it in his post-game press conference, and this is what he had to say.
Lane, you had that moment with David Stone at the end of the game. For yourself, just the emotions of being in this moment. You talk about reflecting. What is it? I mean, not specifically, but just the moment of you walking off this field with an SEC road win in a place like this.
Is that number 0?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. I was like, who's David Stone? But then I knew it. That's just me. I mean, he was talking the whole game to me, and I did a good job, I felt, of not talking back. He just kept telling me we ain't going to score and all this, so I didn't go try to find him. He was just walking by, so I just saw him. So that's just kind of me.
Oh, I mean, listen, there's 2 ways to think about this. One, like, never change, Lane. And I like Lane. I still text with him every once in a while. Lane's a good dude, really good football coach, great offensive mind, great play caller. Man, just like surgeon calling plays. I love so many things about that answer. Love, hate, whatever. You can just say, like, let me point out a few things about that answer. Number one, he knows who David Stone is. So when he's like, is that number 0? It's like a way to minimize David Stone. And it's like, yes, Lane, it's number 0. What other player did you have? Oh, like, what was that one of many interactions you had with an Oklahoma player after the game? So that I thought was funny. And then when he's got nothing else except like, yeah, that's just me. And then I love that he pats himself on the back like, I did a really good job of not saying anything during the game. You're the head coach. I love this guy. It's like, you don't get pats on the you don't get flowers, Lane, for not trash talking the players who are 18 to 22 years old. You make a lot more money than they do. I know they're making a lot of money, but you make a lot more, and your money is guaranteed. Oh my gosh. I was proud of myself for not saying anything during the game. Oh yeah, because you wanted to church him between calling plays. It's hilarious. I love this guy. And by the way, I'm reminded in a situation like this, like, Lane's great for college football. I love Lane Kiffin. And yet, if you don't like Lane, you are so mad at this situation. How dare he talk to players that way? Those are kids. You're probably also the same type of person who's like, they can transfer? I mean, Lane's hilarious. Is that number 0? Yes, it's number 0, Lane. Yes, it is. This guy is incredible. Oh my gosh. I was proud of myself. Oh, never change, bro. Oh, Is he the most bro college football coach that we have? It's gotta be. Gotta be. All right, we continue. Sorry, I digress. Number 7, Notre Dame. I know. Come on, leave all your comments down below. Go ahead. Go ahead. They've got 2 losses. I don't care. They are really good. The last 5 games, they've got the 12th ranked scoring defense. They can run it on anybody. They just did a great job defensively against USC, holding them to 24 points. USC is one of the best offenses in all of college football. They're in the top 5 in terms of yards per rush, yards per pass. Like, Notre Dame is really, really good. I know they lost those 2 games early. I mean, I'm not going to explain them away, but hey, have you found out that A&M is really good? Absolutely. And that's a wild game that could have gone either way. Game against Miami on the road could have gone either way. Notre Dame's going to be a tough out. Notre Dame's number 7, and I really don't care what you say. I really don't. Number 6, Oregon. Kind of an ugly win against Wisconsin. Oregon this last week. Offense just wasn't quite what I thought that they would be, although Wisconsin does have a decent defense. That's one thing about Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin couldn't do anything on the offensive side of the football, so the game was never in doubt. But I do like Oregon still, and there's this part of me that thinks about Oregon, and I think about the way Ohio State grew from their midseason loss a year ago, in particular on the defensive side. And I think about the urgency with which Dan Lanning coaches and the fact that this guy is what I would call a stone turner. Here's what a stone turner is. It's like he will turn over every single stone to figure out what's going wrong, what's going right, how are we going to get better. The guy just looks in every nook and cranny. He is a tireless, energetic worker. And so because of that loss, I do think that they're going to be able to focus and evaluate and develop past that. And so to me, they're number 6. Number 5 is Georgia. Gosh, man, this team continues to be hard to kill. I really love Gunnar Stockton. I'm getting a lot of Max Duggan vibes from Duggan dragging that TCU team to the national championship game. This team is constantly flirting with death and yet really hard to kill. They're like the older action hero. You go to the movies and it's like, are they going too far in this scene? Like, hey, Tom, should you be riding your motorcycle off the cliff with a parachute? It's like, that's kind of what Georgia is doing to me right now, is they're giving me like, what is even that called? Like Dead Protocol or whatever. The last Mission Impossible 37, whatever this one is. And he's like riding off the cliff. And you're like, that might be a smidge too far. I know you're hard to kill, Tom, but you're flirting with death. That's how I feel about Georgia right now. Constantly in multiple possession deficits, and yet come back. Resilient. Most resilient team in the country. Gunnar Stockton. I have more respect for Gunnar Stockton every time I see him play because of his competitiveness, his will. You see it. It's like his soul is poured out onto the field. And I love that. I really love that. Number 4 is Alabama. I think Alabama at their top end is elite. They can potentially win the national championship. Now, when Ty Simpson isn't at his best and isn't lighting it up, they're a beatable team. And we saw that a little bit this last week against South Carolina. There's been 3 games this year that he hasn't just like lit it on fire. And I would even say in one of those games, he did for a half, and that was the Georgia game. But 3 games he hasn't been great are Florida State, Georgia, and South Carolina. And every one of those games are the only 3 games that he's been below 65% completion percentage. And lo and behold, they're in tight games and lose one of those games. Now, they were able to come back, but their lack of run game is stark right now, and it needs to get better. And I continue to harp on this, but it's the truth. They're 15th in the SEC in rushing. Both LSU and Oklahoma run it better per carry than Alabama. And those 2 teams stink running the football. That's a problem. I know that Alabama is elite when they're on, but when they're not, they can lose to anybody. And I think you saw that against South Carolina. And by the way, these coaches make a lot of money to make wrong decisions. Shane Beamer goes up 7 late in that ball game and doesn't go for 2 to get a multiple possession lead. what? Like, what? I don't understand. I don't understand that. Shane Beamer should have gone for 2. If they get it, it's a 9-point game. It's 2 possession. South Carolina wins. If they don't get it, it's a 7-point game. And I don't think that there's any world that Alabama is going to go down there and go for 2 and put their season and maybe their playoff hopes on the line on one snap. They're definitely going to overtime. If Beamer goes for 2, the game ends in overtime, period. But he didn't, which forced Bama to play it a little bit differently, and now they have to go for 2, and now I don't love it. I don't love what went on. But Bama, at their best, is excellent. Okay, now we get into these like really good teams, and let's start with Texas A&M. Texas A&M, and they end Brian Kelly's tenure there at LSU. They're down at half in that game, and at no part, I'm watching the game the whole time on the flight back, and at no part did I feel like LSU was the better team. A&M had the better pass rush. They have the better run game. They have the better offense in general. They can throw it. Marcel Reed made a couple of great plays. Marcel Reed didn't even have to play great. He threw for 57% and 2 picks, and they beat the doors off of LSU at night. So, they have answers all around them. Again, they've won games in several different ways with their defense, running it, throwing it. Their true road games this year, they've scored over 41 or more points in every one of their true road games. That's elite, man. That is really, really good. Mike Elko just fits there. That's why LSU needs the right fit. That's why Florida needs the right fit. That's why Penn State needs the right fit. This is a case study and a guy that was a big swing to win the press conference and Jimbo Fisher, and they're giving themselves national championship trophies, but he never fit the culture at A&M. Mike Elko fits the culture at A&M. Maybe didn't win the press conference, but you're winning on the field on Saturday and Saturday nights, which is exactly what they did this last week. Wouldn't surprise me if they're in Atlanta. I don't think that their remaining schedule is all that difficult. Listen, it's harder than let's say Ole Miss's remaining schedule, but they travel to Missouri, and Missouri just lost their quarterback Bo Perbula to an ankle injury. So I don't know what Missouri is going to be like even at Missouri. South Carolina, Samford, and then at Texas. More thoughts on Texas coming up a little later in the show. Number 2 team in the country. So that's Texas A&M. They're really good, really good. Number 2 is Indiana. Indiana is a complete team. I saw them live in person against UCLA. Complete team. Every coach I talk to that either has played Indiana or is preparing for them says the same thing. This team is so sound. They are so well coached. I know it's boring, but it's true. They are just a complete team. They run it well. Their offensive line is solid. They stop the run. They rush the passer. They can throw it. They do everything right. And even better than that, they're really well coached. They just don't make mistakes. And yet, they also have high-end talent. In that regard, it reminds me a lot of the 23 Michigan team. That was fundamentally as complete and sound a team as I've covered in college football in my entire time. They went undefeated, 15-0, won the national championship. The difference with that Michigan team was it wasn't just being fundamentally sound, they also had elite talent. And that's exactly what Indiana has. People don't want to come around on that, but they do. On their defense, they have All-American caliber players. Maybe Kamara is not playing that caliber up to this point in the season from a production standpoint up front, but they have All-American caliber players on all 3 levels of their defense. Mikhail Kamara up front, Aiden Fisher, the linebacker. We'll see about his injury. He left that game early in the game. And then D'Angelo Pons in the back end as a corner. They're excellent on defense. That's one of the best defenses in all of college football. It's not Ohio State good, but man, they're really good and they're really sound. And then, oh, by the way, on offense, they're going to have 2 or 3 all Big Ten offensive linemen, maybe an All-American. Coogan's playing great at center. They've got a Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback in Fernando Mendoza that's not just a good college quarterback. He's going to be a top 15 pick in the NFL, probably this year. He's an elite quarterback. And then they have an elite set of wide receivers on the outside, led by Elijah Surratt. Surratt and Cooper as a tandem, there's only one tandem that can even compete and maybe surpass them just a little bit, and that's Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. But these two guys are elite players. And then they also have a run game that is hard-nosed, physical, and is absolutely brilliant at plus runs. Kind of got stumbled there. Plus runs, meaning it's blocked for 4, they gain 6. Blocked for 6, they gain 8. Blocked for 8, they gain 20. Like, they're always moving forward. I really love Himby in the backfield. So that's just a really good team. My one question for them is going to be depth. That's it, because this is a long road to get to the national championship, but depth. And then number 1, Ohio State. They still have the number 1 unit in the entire country, and that's that defense. And let's just put it to you this way. If you're looking at like passing metrics from an offensive standpoint, we all know Alabama is an elite passing offense, and Ty Simpson is great. And yet, by the numbers, you can make an argument that Ohio State is better. Now, you might not win that argument, but it's right there, razor's edge. We're talking about the elite of the elite passing games in all of college football. Just so happens, Ohio State also runs the football way better than Alabama does. Now, not great, but way better than Alabama, who, by the way, is like next to last in the SEC in terms of rushing yards per carry. That's not going to help them. And oh, by the way, Ohio State's defense is like the best defense in the sport. So they not only have that to hang their hat on, but then they can go to this offense and they've run the football to win it. They can throw the football whenever they want, and they don't want to all the time. It's just like, I know it's boring, folks. I know it's boring, but like that is the elite team in college football.
Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.